if in doubt, get your flat disc out, because that's what I do. I just hack at it with a flat disc. It's like a green snowstorm. Anyone interested in the penetration qualities of this adhesive is, this is pretty much proof in the pudding. So I'm just about overworking up in this bow. I'll tell you, it's so fine. Big guy like me doesn't belong in a little space like that. But this is the last time I have to endure this crap up in this end here. I basically spend hours with my shoulders wedged between these 2 points here, there and there. And I'm jammed in with my arm reached fully out to get to that last little spot right down in the end there. So I'm going to be very, very happy to get to the end of this bit. Okay, so this part of the boat, because it is so fine, I pulled out the big guns and got the Bosch sander roller that I bought. That unfortunately, I don't think I can buy the bloody parts for it anymore. The sanding discs are ridiculously expensive, but it is the perfect shape, this little conical sander for working up in the bow there. Now, where I'm at here is, you saw in the last episode, I did a complete lamination of the chamfer panel and outer hull sides, but I decided to do the hull last and basically sand the thing back, clean it out, and here's a few more minutes of pretty mind-numbing sanding and grinding for you to endure. The clobber you got to wear to do this, I feel like I'm in a cave. I've just spent another good hour right on the keel line here, grinding and sanding, because the last bit you do during the day is the keel line, because that's where you're walking, so you do that generally last. You can only do about 2 and 3 foot sections at a time because of the you can't reach it, and there's no other way to physically get to it without using broomsticks, and then you just don't get a decent finish. So I'll just wipe the screen there because it's covered in dust. Yeah, down in here you can see I've basically ground and sanded this back to perfect for its last CSM 300 CSM layer. Great thing is then I'll just peel apply the whole floor and hopefully never have to sand a bastard again. But that's the tragedy of the bilge, is that it is rarely seen because it's filled up with water tanks and plumbing and through holes and things. But the key to getting it spot on and a good flow coat finish is really critical to make sure that it stays clean. You're always going to get oil, dirt, anything in these bilges, preferably not oil. That's one of the reasons why I've gone for the engine bay compartments. But this bilge, I'm hoping I can keep absolutely spotless by doing a nice sprayed sort of flow coat finish. I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to spray it yet. I haven't got my head around how I'm going to get to certain areas of it with the spray gun, but certainly keeping it clean is critical. But you can see here there's a lot of shit down in here that I've got to now clean out. Probably vacuum it 2 or 3 times, and then I'll be able to then styrene wipe it and give it its last small bucket of around about a foot of 300 CSM just to give it its final layer, and it's done. The final layer obviously is a 300 CSM. Once again, the 300 CSM, although a lot of you guys don't like chop matting, in this instance gives me an incredible amount of surface area
to adhere bulkheads to fittings, through holes, etc. And you'll notice here my gun, I've actually highlighted the use of this gun. You can see the spray coming out, but you can also see when I do a close-up on it here in a moment, you'll be able to see the actual catalyst coming in from the side, and that's the beauty of this external catalyst mixing system, is that it's catalysing and atomizing 1 inch from the nose of the gun. Using this gun once again has saved me absolutely epic amounts of acetone in cleanup and also in resin. You'll also notice too, there was a pretty cold morning this morning. It was around about 16 or 17 degrees, and you'll notice that jet that was coming out of my gun was quite narrow. What I worked that out to be is that jet of, or the fan pattern coming from my gun is narrow because it was a cooler morning. Obviously the resin hasn't quite warmed up as much as I would have liked. So what I do now is I actually have my resin wrapped in a foil wrap, in the drum is physically wrapped in foil, and by doing that I'm able to keep that temperature a little bit higher than ambient. And the beauty of that is that then I get an even increased fan pattern on my gun and a much better result. So yeah, it's a learning process, all these things, and it's one of those things that you just learn as you go. I should know this because I've been doing this for a long time, but anyone working in cooler climates, you really do need to consider this as part of your resin management system, is how to deal with that. Okay, so I'm here at a point where I'm actually applying peel ply after that last layer, and you've got to cack yourself when you see this. I am straddling this, driving my knee in, I'm trying to get comfortable. It's one of the most uncomfortable places to work, is down in this hole. You've got to lean and basically brace yourself against the side so you don't fall in the job that you've just laid down. And yeah, mate, it was exhausting. It was probably 3 days of solid work, just completing these hull lines, leaning across the pattern. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I've taken Rusty's advice and I've peel plied the entire bottom here with my last layer, so I'm going to get this beautiful finish. It wasn't without its absolute freaking nightmare, but all the leaning and the laying, which I've shown you in this video, mate, hard on the old body, I'll tell you. It's a good job I'm going snowboarding next month, because I'm doing some bloody good training practice for it here. All the ups and downs off my ass, but you can see along here, I've basically peel applied the entire bottom right up to about sort of 2 foot up from the floor. So that'll give me a perfect sort of perfect finish, ready to basically put in the bulkheads and also to flow coat. So very pleased with that result. That tail is now complete. So it's been a while since I've been able to get a little bit of a stiffy over foam, but I'm back on the foam. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting the final sugar scoops, the internal side of the sugar scoops, which I never got around to. The only thing is I don't have the saw I had. I borrowed Johnny from across the road. He had a beautiful little Makita battery powered saw with a small wheel. So because I'm cutting curves and I'm doing miters, it's a bit of a problem with a bloody 8-inch saw, 8-inch skill saw. So I'm just going to get into it and get it done. But it is about 0 degrees and I'm freezing fair dinkum. It is a beast of an afternoon for blowing the gales. I'm blowing all this foam, God knows where. But let's get into it. Shit. It's like the things I do to get the friggin' shots that you guys get. Holy Christ. I risk $1,000 phone. Anyway, we'll put you back up here. Let's have a bit of a hack and see if I can get this done for the next customer. Just for a little bit of artistic license, let's move you there. Oh, beautiful. Before I freeze and become rock solid, I've got this absolutely amazing bevel, which, you know, I didn't know you could cut curves with a skill saw, but I seem to be able to. It's not a good scene, but you can see what I mean. That panel going to fit around the rear internal sugar scoop. And so if you've done a pretty dodgy cut on this foam, the great thing is just, if in doubt, get your flap disc out, because that's what I do. I just hack at it with a flap disc. It's like a green snowstorm, but I can get a really nice smooth edge. You can see down here, got this pretty poxy little nick in it there. I like it to be neat. I'll flap disc it out now, and then I'll probably have to do it again once I get it glued on the boat. So yeah, it is no lie snowing 500 metres that way. It's freezing. I'm here in a t-shirt and shorts, and good job I got a bit of meat on me, boys. Right, so I've just cut another couple of 4 panels, 2 for each of the back sugar scoops. So these guys are going in here. They're going to be bonded onto there and then glassed up. You'll notice at the end here, I haven't actually done any more than 2 layers of CSM on there, because that actually is going to be cut out. This is my intention, is to extend the rear step around about 60 to 70 centimetres to give me a good swim platform and, you know, boarding platform for a tender on the back there. So I'm leaving that until it's all demoulded, and then I'm going to basically add on to the back. I've got a couple of templates I'm going to use for that process, but for now I'm going to glue these guys in place. Okay, so I've got this sea light. I'm going to glue this the foam boards down on the sugar scoops here. We catalyse at 1.5%. This is about probably about 70% of the weight of straight resin. It's a Q-cell aerosol mix bedding compound that's made specifically for composite foams or structural foams. And 1.5% catalyst. We've got about 20 degrees in the tent here, so that's pretty much optimal. That'll give you about 15 minutes of gel time. It's about as windy as tits up in here today, honestly. These little spots up in the back here, it's blowing a gale right through here, so this will have an effect on your catalysing too. It'll set things off quicker. You don't want drafts over your catalysing, but you know, sorry, I'm trying to get it down, blow it up. But yeah. Watch out for wind, drafts, hot spots, anything like that could change your catalyst reaction. And obviously you want to stir it quickly, but you don't want to over stir, because you're going to kick off that catalyst too quickly. So we've got 15 mil, 1 litre of bedding compound into the bucket here. You'll notice I've got almost a swimming pool of resin here. You've got to work it in very slowly, and watch you don't kick it up and flick it into your face, or even worse still, lose the catalyst.
I've never been one to sort of procrastinate, but I tended to procrastinate this whole region of the boat. It was just one of those out of mind, out of sight sort of things. Doing this part here took me a good day or so just to get all these parts in place. But, you know, the styrene wipe, the sanding, and then styrene wipe, and then applying the bedding foam to the rear sugar scoop foam panels Now, it doesn't take long, but it's just one of those things. You sort of get set up, and while you're set up, you should continue and do as much as you can. You can see here I had to heavily kerf this flat piece of 20mm foam because it simply wasn't going to bend to the shape of the internal scoop. And putting this on then, and vibrating the thing on with a roller, it sort of reminded me of the other 200 square metres of foam that I'd applied in the past, and it was a bad memory just come back to haunt me. But the reality is it gets done, and when it gets done, you can basically get the thing glassed on and forget about it. Nice to forget about this job because it is a bit of a messy one.
Okay, anyone interested in the penetration qualities of this adhesive is, this is pretty much proof in the pudding. It's coming up through these perforations, and every slot is totally full with resin. So there's pretty much no chance of any air voids in this substrate once I've glassed over the top of it. The compression roller just does a ridiculous job. So that's it for this week. If you like this episode, please click like. If you want to subscribe, go for it. I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys. I'm up over the 5,000 mark, which is just ridiculous. It's been a bit of a funny couple of months. I'm certainly into it, and I'm on it basically full time. But doing things like this and just getting this hull totally finished is just such a major milestone in my mind. So thanks very much for joining me, and I'll join you next time on Life on the Mould. See you later, guys.